Thank you so much for being here for the Women's Day film series. We just watched Little Orphans. Thank you everyone for being here tonight, and thank you to our wonderful guests. I'll introduce them now. We have Director Ruth Lawrence. Hi, Ruth.
Hi.
We have the writer and also star Emily Bridger, who plays Gwen. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
We have producer Jenny Hawley. We have Marthe Bernard, who plays Janet.
Hi.
And we have Rhiannon Morgan, who plays Kay.
Hi.
Thanks everyone for being here. I mean, just an incredible film and just so perfect for this month of March, International Women's Day. We celebrate the whole month, not just today. We should get more than a month, I think. But just the whole cast and crew being majority female. I mean, let's just start with that. We talked about this a little bit before we went live, but how wonderful was it working together on this cast and crew being mostly female? I'm sure pretty rare in this industry.
Pretty rare. Interestingly, most of us are based in St. John's, and all of us are from St. John's, and we're really lucky to have the St. John's International Women's Film Festival here, which is over 30 years old now. So they have really fostered a community of women filmmakers. So for us, in some ways, it felt very natural to do a film where women played, such vital and well, I guess all of the lead roles, and certainly all of the top of the line roles. But it wasn't really until we got into it that we realized how remarkable it was.
So it wasn't intentional. It fluidly happened that way, that it just predominantly was more women.
Yeah, I like to work with women because I love working with women, basically. But I also we didn't really set out, Jenny, did we?
No, it was never a conversation. It was a conversation to be inclusive of women and people starting out new. There was all kinds of things that we wanted to include when we were crewing up, but it was never like we need to have a certain percentage of women. And we never, I guess, had to have the conversation because it just naturally happened anyway. I mean, you pick the people that you connect with and want to work well, you'll work well with, and it just so happens when you get women, like Ruth said, behind the camera, but in front of the camera, above the line, you just foster that and there's more and more of you showing up in the crew and cast as well.
I love that happened organically, and hopefully this won't be, a shocking statistic, in a few years, but really, really wonderful. I was really excited to see that. I'd love to talk to Emily. Emily, you are the writer of this really amazing story. I mean, let's talk about the birth of this story. Where did this idea come from? How did you put this on paper?
I started thinking about it a long time ago. Over 10 years ago, I started thinking about this idea when I moved to Toronto. I'd lived in St. John's my whole life, and I guess it's like the sort of thing, once you leave a place, you can kind of see it more clearly. And St. John's is a quirky, interesting place. And it's super small. And I guess I was initially what I wanted to explore was that idea of identity, and how being from a place like that's quite small, when people know you, how hard it can be to change, really, and how hard it can be to return if you're known in maybe not a positive way, or if you feel negatively about yourself. So that's kind of where it came from. And then I started writing it as a play. Robert Chafe, who's like an amazing, award-winning, well-known Canadian playwright, was teaching a playwriting course here at Memorial University, and that's when I started writing it. And then I realized I wanted to be a film. No, first, Ruth, I went to the Women's Work Festival with it, which is a playwriting festival here in St. John's. And that's when Ruth heard it. And Ruth was at the live reading and had a lot of questions, and was very thoughtful. And I guess that's when we kind of made the connection with that story. And then from there, we started working together.
Amazing. I was going to ask this. You knew each other before the film, and you got together. Amazing. Now, each sister is so different, but yet they all have kind of the same suffering, the same trauma, but they all, deal with it differently. And then, we see Janet, who's the younger sister, and maybe the one who's doing the best at the moment. I mean, how do we feel about that? The youngest sister, does the youngest sister get, shielded from some of the trauma? Does the oldest sister always take most of the brunt?
I think for me, Janet spent the most time with Maureen. So I think that she had just a more stable upbringing. I don't know what you think about that, Martha. Like Martha knew the character very well.
Yeah.
But she's definitely dealing with a ton of issues.
Yeah, I think in many ways, like her trauma kind of like it's like I think she uses control to try to bury it. And so I think that just like felt very true to me about that character, that she was like she holding it all together was very important to her, and appearances are very important to her. And so the wedding was like the ultimate thing. And so and then just like I think it's so interesting just that like she wanted her sisters and her mom to be different people, really. Like that's like honestly what she wanted for the wedding. Like and it's like there's this phrase of like, like don't go to the hardware store for milk. Like she really shouldn't have been like expecting that from this family that's very dysfunctional, you know what I mean? But I think that was like her wish, was that it could all be functional for the wedding. And then of course it wasn't. But yeah, I don't really know if that answers the question, but I did find her such an interesting character to play.
I'm glad you said control, like when they're doing the centerpieces and your baby's breath is out of control, or so funny. Try to control it all when it's kind of falling apart.
Yeah, these two are uncontrollable, those two sisters. So, yeah.
I'm the youngest sister, so I always think the youngest one's the children to tame everything,
Yeah.
Rhiannon, let's talk about your character, Kay. You did such an incredible job at capturing, the essence of this inner turbulence that she's feeling. Such a complex character. I mean, maybe you can share that journey with us, and how maybe you developed some understanding about the character. I mean, when you first see her, you're like, oh, whatever. She's got some stuff going on, but I'm sure some understanding came out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like with Kay, her trauma is sort of, it's much more evident and on the surface, and you identified immediately with her and her, issues with addiction and the way she interacts with, with her sisters and with her family. But I mean, just also the innocence and the she's so earnest as well. Like there's a real sort of struggle with Kay. She's absolutely out of control, but at the same time, like you can't, I mean, I personally, with my journey with her, like you can't help but love her and feel for her, because there's so much innocence as well. That sort of, she's very childlike in a lot of ways. And that comes, through the writing and through the direction. And you could just see like, she herself, it's a child trying to, giving a child, and she's just sort of struggling herself. But yeah, it's much like her sort of struggle is not so much suppressed. You see it much more on the surface with Kay.
And then you see it in the end. I mean, hurt people, right? And it kind of all comes around. And I think having that, understanding why people react the way they do, and maybe we just need to have a little bit more empathy because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right?
Right.
Ruth, maybe we can talk about one of my favorite parts of the film was the little sneaky toy orphans that you see going around. I loved that. I thought that was so cute and cheeky, and I didn't get it till I saw the frog on the road, and I was like, oh my God, love this connection. Tell us about this. Was this in the writing? Did this come up as we were filming?
Well, it was interesting because when we were sort of nearing, like, heading towards production and in prep, I was kind of looking for themes that were coming up, like, and of course we all know that folk tales and fairy tales always feature orphans. Like, so to me, there was something very old about this story, even though it was a contemporary story. And I went to Emily one day and I said, "There's a lot of folk tale iconography in here. Like, do you mind if I lean into that a little bit?" She's like, "Go for it." So it was one of the things that I took back to the production designer, and she really embraced it, Gina Ray Anderson. So yeah, things like the frog in the middle of the road and the frog prince in the bathtub, and there's apples. If you really look, there's little Easter eggs of apples, and there's a little mermaid in the corner of one of the little shelves. There's all kinds of little things like that. And then the little girl is playing with really classic sort of almost folktale, fairy tale type toys and stuff. So it was just something that I really wanted to very subtly place into the film. I didn't want it to be overwhelming, but it really helped me make a lot of the decisions about the film, like the look of things, the wrought iron and the fences. It just gave me a direction to really place the story somewhere in contemporary St. John's, but really looking back on that past folktale feeling. And really a lot of that I felt we kind of also imbued through the music as well.
I love that. All the things you see translates to a feeling, and you could feel what you were trying to convey. And I just thought that was incredible. Really
Even the three little pigs got in there. I don't know if anyone noticed, but
you gotta have it for folktale, right? Love
and I
it.
thought that was perfect for these young women. It's like, here they are all tumbled on top of each other. It was, yeah, so.
Oh, the pig statue, yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to share a comment. We have Michaela Hutchison, who is a viewer. Her comment was, "Yes, St. John's. I hope this Eastern norm ripples west." So getting some excellent feedback. People are loving this Eastern vibe. I mean, we think Canadian television. I think some people think maybe Toronto or out west, but it's amazing to see Eastern films get a bit more attention. So yeah, yes, Michaela, we love that.
Yeah. Thanks, Michaela.
Thanks, Michaela. We have an audience question. The music is beautiful in this film, especially the folk music. Is the music designed to complement the film? Did you write it for the film?
So none of the actual soundtrack songs were written for the film, even though Mark Bragg's final song could have been written for the film. And when I heard it, I thought, this perfect. It had just come off a recent album of his, and he's a cousin of Rhiannon. There's a lot of family connections in this film. So, and then also connected to Rhiannon is her mom's film is featured in one of those final scenes. So when the three women are sitting facing the three singers, the Briar and the Rose is being sung by the three singers, and that's Pamela Morgan, Rhiannon's mom, wrote that song several years back. And that one really is folktale inspired. It's about, the rose and the briar and how they never really can live side by side and how they choke each other out, how the briar chokes itself, chokes the rose out. And there's so much iconography, again, like folktale iconography with those images. But it was interesting, like it was definitely all the music was chosen, and almost all the music was written by friends, everyone from Sherry Ryan, Colleen Power, Liz Solo, Davenant Doyle. They're all friends who we said, "Can we use your music?" And they all said yes. So that was pretty amazing. And then the score was beautifully written by Justin Mertzoy, who really worked hard and was very patient with us, because the pandemic hit just as his work was beginning. So we unfortunately, but also fortunately, had lots of time on our hands to really make sure we got the music that we wanted. And he was so patient with every note. Me and Jenny in particular was working with me on that score, and Justin just always kept bringing beautiful, beautiful things to the table based on the choices that we also had made already in the soundtrack. So it was really interesting to see that develop. So I'm really delighted that someone mentioned the music, because it really means a lot to me, and we never get to talk about it that much. But it really is, I feel it's really special. And every artist on there is from Newfoundland or lives in Newfoundland. So it's pretty amazing.
Amazing.
And
Well,
that was
another music. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that was also Justin's first feature film that
Yes.
he composed. So I think that'll mean a lot to him, that comment, because he did a great job.
Yeah.
We also have a little bit of, we also got a tattoo that was kind of based. We wanted to get the girls, we wanted to get a tattoo, the cast and the sisters, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to get, and we sort of got this little, I'll show you what
I didn't know this.
Yeah, and so it is, it's like we sort of based it on the rose and the briar. So it's like 2 flowers, but then there's like a thorn. And I mean, we don't really we didn't want to like put too much into like which sister is but and but but it just like the interconnectedness of them. And yeah, so we decided we all wanted to get a tattoo. We wanted to do it like the week that we wrapped, but I was like leaving, and so we did it the following year.
Well, interestingly, Martha, there is that saying, a rose between 2 thorns. So maybe it is not, maybe it's not a coincidence that you were sitting between the 2 thorns.
Yeah.
The thorns in your side.
I didn't want to think of it as like a negative. It wasn't like a negative thing, like about
I love it.
Yeah. And I mean, that song is so beautiful, and it's it's my favorite scene in the movie. And yeah, so that was just something, that's a little bit of trivia that I don't think we've ever talked about publicly.
No, I didn't know
It's okay that I shared
that. I love it.
I love these Q&As. You learn so much fun stuff.
I know.
Another comment about the music from Jeanette Monique Lambermont-Murray. Bawled over this beautiful film, everyone. It is deeply moving, and I also loved the music, of course.
Thank you so much, Jeanette.
Okay, girls, I need to talk about the fact that you're best friends and that you got to work together. That must have been, an experience. Is this your first film, all 3 of you together?
First, all 3. We've all worked separately.
Together in different moments, right? Yeah. How was that? Did you have these friends in mind already when you were writing this?
Yes. I've been talking about the idea to them for a long time. And, we used to live almost together, really, like in our 20s. But I guess the past 5, 6, 7 years, Martha's been in either BC or LA, and Rhiannon lives in Port Rexton, which isn't quite that far, but it is a 3-hour drive. So it was like such a nice treat to get to spend that time together. Yeah.
Yeah, it was it was truly like a vacation. We were working, and we were, together, but you're together all the time, and we hadn't had that in so long. And we had children around the same time as well, and the kids were present, and then we had all these beautiful people coming to work with us as well, and it honestly felt like a dream. And yeah, we had been reading this script for years and years, and just the fact that it happened and we got to collaborate with Jenny and Ruth and everybody. It was just it literally felt like a dream. It was amazing.
Yeah. And I always thought Martha and Rhiannon were perfect, and Ruth, I said to Ruth, I kind of think this when I asked her if she'd be interested in directing, and she was like, yes. I had misgivings about myself, but I was sure about
Nothing better than working with best friends. Who lifts you up more than working with your buddies? That's so cool.
I was just gonna say too, because it was a really a micro budget, we had between scenes, on a low budget film, there's nowhere you can go except for one room. You're not allowed to leave. You don't have a trailer. You don't have a green room. It's a room in the house. So we're all sitting. It made it feel like summer camp in a way.
We were touching arms
the dead of
for
winter.
12 hours a day. Yeah.
No, so
honestly, if we had trailers, we wouldn't be in them. I feel we
no,
would have been in the room.
A waste of money.
yeah, it was just, we were just, you know, we're with each other all day, every day. And then just like in between scenes. And it just really felt like nice bonding time. And with everyone too, like, it was just like everyone on crew and everyone in the cast was like so lovely to work with that we just, yeah, we all became so close.
I think it made such a difference, actually, Martha, like you're saying, to what we then saw on the screen. Like, you know, when people came to set, they had just spent all that time in such close quarters, as Emily said, like touching arms. Like at one point, there's a picture taken with, I think, 6 of you sitting on the bed. Like there was a double bed that basically was the green room. It's not ideal, but it's what we had.
Yeah, at one point I had to ask to like, can we get some chairs? Like,
yeah, I know, exactly. Because it's like, you know, but it was really interesting then to go into those scenes because it really had that feeling of a family. So it was, it did help us for sure.
It definitely translated. I mean, being friends, you had the chemistry already, but you seemed like family. But onto the family subject. So set, I hear that it was in a family member's home. Rhiannon, was this someone's family home?
It was Emily's sister.
Yeah. It was my sister's home, was Richard and Linda's house. And then, yeah, the 2 little girls at the top of the film are Martha and Rhiannon's daughters.
They're perfect.
Debut.
They're the first appeared. Amazing.
Yeah. Very first. And Andy Jones, Martha's dad and Canadian icon, is in the background.
I know.
And Luke.
And that's right. And my son's in it.
And Des and Monica.
Exactly. My boyfriend, his daughter, like it was all, we had a lot of family.
And even a lot of cast too, right? Like the extras, family members, so nice.
Yeah, exactly. Family members in the background, in the foreground, they were everywhere. And really in a lot of ways, it was my first film. So I really, I guess in some ways I just really needed to feel like I was going to have a cast that would trust me. And obviously these 3 young ladies were amazing. And yeah, like, so it really helped in a lot of ways to know that they were that close. I could, kind of ask them to do anything and they would do it. And they did. It was incredible. I think we got a fabulous film because of that.
You sure did. Congratulations on the success.
I was just going to say, you and Stephanie Ruth had a really close relationship too, like on the other side of the camera. So
yeah, that's true. So our DOP, Stephanie Weber-Biron, she had shot a short film of mine before. I have always admired her work. Like I would watch Stephanie's films before I met her and I would rewatch them right away because I thought her craft was so incredible. And then Ashley McKenzie, another amazing Canadian filmmaker, I was with her at a film festival and she said, "Oh, you should meet Stephanie." And I was like, "Yes, I should." And then Ashley introduced me to her like 25 minutes later. And I was like, it was like we'd known each other for a very long time. And I will work with Stephanie anytime I get an opportunity to, because she just I just felt it was so easy to transmit my vision to her. She understood it. She didn't question it. She encouraged it. And it was pretty amazing. Like I could very easily tell her what I saw, and then she could make it happen. That doesn't happen all the time. So that was pretty amazing too. So yeah, thanks Emily for mentioning that. That's true, that in a lot of ways that was true of a lot of the relationships behind the camera as well.
It was really inspiring to see you and Stephanie work together because it was my first time ever working with a female DOP. And like I've worked with female directors before, and like I don't know, but DOPs can be assholes. Like male DOPs can be assholes. And like they can also make the female director feel like maybe her idea isn't, I don't know, like I'm not obviously not speaking for all cinematographers, but you know what I mean? I've seen it happen before where like, they discount your ideas or something. And I just like, yours and Stephanie's relationship was so beautiful. And it was so cool. Like, like having a woman in that position is so rare. And that was just like, I really, really admired your relationship and the way you two collaborated, and the way, like you said, the way that she was like up for anything that you
Oh
were.
yeah, it was amazing. She really was my partner. It's so true. Like she's, every time I made a suggestion, and sometimes I felt really silly because I was first time feature director, so I would say, hey, I got this idea, and she would go, yeah, and she would always make the idea better. Always, and say, well, we could do that this way. What do you think of that? I was like, yeah, even better, perfect. And so it was really, she gave me a lot of confidence. She's really very experienced, and she let that add to my experience, as opposed to, like sometimes you can feel like mismatched, but not at all. It was really, really strong and complimentary. So that was good.
And that's what's so important about representation. So having this festival, having women's film festivals, just showing women in different roles that you don't usually see, and inspires the women of tomorrow. And I thank you all for doing that. It's amazing. I want to share a couple more comments. Christine Leonard says, so nice to hear you are longtime friends and you guys were amazing together. Michaela Hutchinson has another comment. Her daughter's name is Briar, who's 22, and she's looking for a new tattoo. She's going to share this with her, and maybe a potential tattoo idea.
Fantastic.
Inspiring women, even in tattoos, love it.
I know, I love that. I love that.
We have a production side question. The production design is beautiful, and St. John's is truly a character in the film. Tell us about that, Ruth and Emily. Emily, was this intended in your script?
It was definitely intended in the script. Yeah, it's a real St. John's story. And I was thinking about, that was the first thing I was thinking about when I had this idea, was really, St. John's. And Ruth just kind of took that and really just did. And Jenny, I know, like, it was so much about St. John's that the initial draft of the script had like 700 locations. Jenny was like, can we cut some of these? But yeah, Ruth just did such a beautiful job to, bring that into the, it was just amazing, I think, to see what she did with it.
I haven't been out to much of the East Coast. I've just been to New Brunswick, but I definitely need to go out east, especially seeing that. Even in the winter scenes where it's super cold, I mean, it's okay. There's ocean and it looks amazing. But to that winter scene, I hear that it never happened.
Not the way we wanted it to.
We didn't have a storm the way we wanted to.
Yeah.
So we had to shoot the following year or something? Is that?
So we never did get our storm that we thought we'd get for sure by shooting in the winter in St. John's. So we shot as much as we could, and then the very next year, even Jenny. So I sent Jenny into the eye of a storm one day when I was editing, and I said, Jenny, we got no storm, girl. Like, what do you got out there? She goes, it's a storm today. So Jenny and our PM, Mike Hickey, did some additional photography, literally went out and like shot in the storm.
I am not a shooter at all. I've never like held a camera before, and I went out to the middle of the storm, and like you couldn't drive anywhere to like get the proper like location, so just walked down the street with like snow almost to my waist with a camera trying to shoot. It was quite funny, actually. Ruth lent me your camera.
But we ended up getting something.
Yeah, well, Mike did.
Yeah, Mike got some stuff that we used, but we couldn't believe it. Like, someone told us before that if you're depending on the weather in St. John's, forget it, because it's going to change. It's never going to be what you want. And that held true. Like, we really had a pretty nice, we had great weather. We did get some beautiful, gorgeous, romantic snow. All the snow you see in the film is Mother Nature. Everything. That beautiful shot on the wharf when Rhiannon and Emily are sitting on the wharf talking, that was all Mother Nature coming down perfectly. Like, the continuity was perfect for the whole time. It was amazing. And then that storm, when after the big climax, when they're all in bed asleep, and you look at the window, and it's a flurry of snow outside. That all happened that night. It was extraordinary. Like, it came when we needed it. We just didn't get the big storm that we anticipated. So in fact, it's really not in the script anymore, Emily, is it? And it works fine without it.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. And initially we wanted to shoot this in the summer, or that's what I thought, like, because that made sense to have a summer wedding. And all the scenes, or there's so many outside scenes, that's why. And then we ended up having, well, at first we pushed to March, and then we had to push to January. So it became a winter wedding movie.
yeah.
Which feels honestly more appropriate for the story and first Newfoundland.
I actually love Martha's line. That's what I get for planning a winter wedding. I go, yeah, this is actually perfect, really. She kind of almost knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know that I know anyone who's had a winter wedding in Newfoundland. I guess I do know a couple people who got married around Christmas.
I know New Year's wedding.
But it's not that common.
But January, February is like our worst months. Like, no one would get married normally like later in January, especially February. And that's when we shot.
It's a self-sabotage wedding.
Yeah, but it was beautiful. And honestly, besides wanting that storm scenes, we couldn't ask for better. But luckily, like Ruth said, our PM was able to shoot out of his bathroom window, and it matched the window that Janet was looking out of her bathroom window. So you'd never know the difference.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, that was Mike's bathroom.
Well, this is why this information is so important for these young filmmakers who are watching and just learning how important adaptability really is for film. I mean, even you have a vision of something, and sometimes it doesn't always, turn out the way you want, but sometimes it turns out even better than you want. So amazing. Thank you for sharing all these little tidbits. I want to talk about the lipstick. The lipstick was, so important since we never actually meet Mom. It's kind of the only tangible piece of Mom we kind of have. And each sister kind of has their own interaction with the lipstick. I love when Kay, smears it on the mirror, and just like the word smear, you can't just wipe it clean. Every time she tries to wipe it, she smears it a little bit more. I mean, just so powerful, so moving. Let's talk about the lipstick.
Ruth, I don't know if you had something to say. You go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that when I remember, it was one of the images that stayed with me, and like there was no way we were cutting that lipstick. And I just loved Emily's idea that it was tucked away in a broken tile. There was just something about that it was, it was the first image metaphor that you encounter in the script that is so strong and so evocative. It actually almost makes me cry to think about it. That it's tucked away and it's just stays there, even though they're not there. And I just thought that was such a beautiful image. And you're right, like the thing about lipstick is it's so hard to get off fabric, off glass. It sticks. It sticks. It off your teeth. Yeah, it's you just can't erase it. And that's why I thought it was such a brilliant metaphor, really, for Mom. And yeah,
and it's like lipstick is so like personal too. Like you like lipstick has a smell. It's like a subtle smell and a color, and you associate a color, and it's just it's a very sort of personal touch for these girls. And when they don't. What do they know of their mother? And it's just such a tiny, but also such an intimate piece of her.
And sorry, go ahead, Emily.
It's something I remember just being obsessed with when I was a kid, and my kids are obsessed with it as well. Like they're like, what are you doing? Like,
who hasn't taken their mother's lipstick and put it on?
My God. Franny just saw that I had lipstick on, and I like never wear makeup, and she was like, wow, like, different. Like
you're dressed up. But you know, the other thing about lipstick, interestingly, is that Kyra Harper, who plays Maureen, who is, you know, the surrogate mother, brought us all a beautiful lipstick as a cast gift, which I wear regularly. But
I'm
I
wearing
thought,
mine tonight.
yeah, it was so perceptive, that she really got that. And like the fact that she gave us all, and it was, I think she said it was one of her mom's favorite
She said
lipsticks.
it was her mom's favorite brand, and there was a little bit of rose water in the brand of lipstick, and she said the smell of it. So when she read the script, she said that was the first thing she thought of was her mother's lipstick, and that's what's.
And it's
Yeah,
just
And
so
she'd give us
good.
a specific color, like it for each, for each woman, and just break your heart.
It was such a beautiful, thoughtful moment when she presented them to us. It was gorgeous.
So sweet. And it's even more empowering being like a mostly female cast, like getting something so specific. So cute. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, what happened to the box at the end of the film? Who took it? Do we know?
Oh, in real life or in the film? In the film.
Right, because Emily goes to look for it and it's missing, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
I think that Kay took it.
Yeah, Kay took it.
I always thought of too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I should say, even with the cigarettes, how they all have their, like, they smell it, and like the smells bring different feelings and everything. And Gwen, when Gwen takes it and then she drops it in the bathtub, another beautiful image of just like, you stepping into that light again, and somehow it spoils this, relaxing time that she had in mind. And, Gwen goes through all those moments, trying to escape to Toronto for, respite. And, you can't really run from your problems, right? So
Yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned the smokes and the lipstick, because they're both elements of Mom. And as you probably noticed, there's a lot of smoking in this film. People kept like the production crew kept asking us, "Oh my God, are you really going to have that many cigarettes?" And I was like, "It's a lot of smoking." And we did talk about it because for one, it like the time that it takes to make sure that you have the continuity on the smokes and stuff. But we at no point did we consider cutting it, because it really was Mom, and like almost every character smokes at some point in the piece. So it really was a way. I'm really glad you brought that up, because it really was a way of keeping Mom in the film. And we only ever see a picture of Mom, but she's really there, like we know she's the cigarettes, she's the lipstick. So those elements are so present in the film.
Like I imagine Gwen probably doesn't smoke in Toronto.
Normally. Normally. Yeah, exactly.
Like fully smokes
at home.
Yeah, and even a character like, and like Janet, you sort of the last person you'd expect to smoke, but she smokes. And also acknowledges how people perceive her smoking too. Yeah.
I was just okay, now I remember when I smoked. I was like, I couldn't remember when I smoked, but then of course.
Before your
wedding morning.
Yeah. It's like a really important scene. Yeah, I forgot. I was like trying to think if I smoked at the party, but I was like, oh no.
Now, after the wedding, when we hear the beautiful song, The Briar and the Rose, Emily, was that ever a thought to like end it there on this happy ending that she had, the wedding came together nicely, or was that always the ending that you kind of had planned?
The ending as it is wasn't always quite so explosive. I think we built up to that, if I'm remembering that right, Ruth. But it was never a happy ending.
That's right. Yeah, it was not quite as
like Kay always left.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't quite as much of a betrayal. I think we really resisted that for a long time, Emily.
I think it might have started like on an early draft that Kay just left. Like she didn't kiss Andrew James O'Brien.
Everybody wants to.
Everybody wants to.
I can sort of remember the conversation around that. It was trying to give Kay a reason that she had to leave.
She was giving herself a reason.
Premeditative, right? Like she was like, what can I do to drive a wedge between me and my family so that they kick me out?
Yeah.
And I think that was sort of, yeah, when I remember kind of when I came into the group, that was like a conversation that you guys had.
Yeah, it really felt like Kay needed to be ejected because she couldn't leave it. You know, how could she possibly leave this triangle of love and trauma and family? And yeah, I just, that was one of the conversations we had was like, she needed to be ejected in some way, because how could she ever willingly leave that? So it took a little bit of a big moment to make that happen. Yeah.
Thank you. And even with all, you know, the turbulent things that were happening, one theme that always remained is they all still had some hope. You know, they still had hope that mom was going to come, or that something was going to get better or be better. And I mean, that's just so important right now. I think everyone needs a little bit of hope. The whole world is feeling a lot of things right now with COVID, and hope is definitely necessary. So just thank you so much for sharing this story, all of you. Thank you, Emily, for writing it. Thank you, Ruth, for directing it. Thank you, Jenny, for producing it. And thank you, Lise, for all starring in it, for sharing the story. I mean, sharing these stories and these experiences is what raises other women up, and it's the representation of it. And, you know, we rise higher when we lift each other up. So thank you guys for doing that. And I guess what's next for us? Are we, it's hard to make concrete plans with COVID, but any things we can look forward to seeing you guys in coming up?
It has been a really difficult year to make plans, but Emily and I are writing a TV series at the moment that is, I think, amazing and has lots of beauty, and also has lots of trouble. Troubled women, it seems to be a theme. So hopefully that, and well, Jenny's actually just in the final stages of a documentary that's about, I don't know how much you can say about it, Jenny.
Yeah, well, we'll be releasing in film festivals this spring. So it's a local, it's on a local diver here in Newfoundland. Called Heller Clean Water, so you can stay tuned for that. And then Ruth and I are going on another project as well that her son wrote, who's also in the film, Little Orphans, Luke. So we're hoping to go to camera on that one in the next year.
COVID willing.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
There's a little comment there. Someone's asking how we've grown through the process and what we've discovered about ourselves having done the film. I know what I have discovered, and I know, but I'd love to hear from these women through the process, what you discovered about yourself having done the film, or how you've grown through the process. Is that okay to take this moment?
Please.
I could answer that just to say that, like, for me, it was my first job after having my daughter. So I think she was like, was she 2? Yeah, she was 2.5.
She was 2.
Yeah, she was 2.5 at the time. And I don't know if you can hear her in the background. That's why I keep muting, because I'm like, sorry about the background noise. Everyone nodded. I was like, oh no, I didn't know. But yeah, so it really made me just realize like what it is to work on a project that is like so creatively fulfilling. Like, I didn't know that I wanted to return to acting, and this project was like we've, you know, mentioned already, just like so fulfilling. It was exactly like the kind of project that I wanted to work on, with the kind of people that I wanted to work on, and like being surrounded by cast and crew, and, you know, and Ruth, like people just like that I felt so comfortable working with and being creative with. It was like just like very, very nourishing, and it made me like realize like, yes, I do want to continue in this field. And like and, you know, I had been thinking about directing for a long time, and like seeing Ruth direct was really, really inspiring for me too. So that was like another thing. And just seeing the possibility of it too, it was very expanding to see the possibility of coming together and making this film, and seeing Ruth direct and Jenny produce and Emily write. It was just like, yeah, it was very expanding for me. And so yeah, that was how it definitely, so I feel like it was, yeah, very, it helped me grow in many ways, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
I could answer for that too. This was my first feature film I ever produced, and when you get into producing, I had done other things, but you don't realize at the beginning how long of a process it is, like how long you're connected to a film for, and how much work it is from the beginning to the end. I mean, we started this in like 2018, and here it is 2021, and we're still doing Q&As about it, and it's fantastic. But it is like, it takes a lot out of yourself. So what I kind of learned is that I want to make projects and surround myself with people who uplift the project and myself. And I didn't know that when I started this. It was just like, oh, let's make films. But it's just so consuming that, like, this team was an amazing team to make your first film with. And it just made me realize that every other project that I ever do, I want to be surrounded by people like them who make this worth it.
Yeah.
Rhiannon or Emily, do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly just, for the most part, like I'm echoing what Jenny and Marthe and Ruth have said. I mean, I found that whole process with a young child, Marthe, as you said, and Emily, as you experienced, like, even, working with a character who has a young child that she is disconnected from. I look at sometimes my daughter and I'm like, oh my God, like, you can't even. So you get so connected with these characters. And also, Jenny, as you mentioned, sort of going through that process and seeing really what it like takes from start to finish and where they go, and seeing like the script and all of its evolution, and like the evolution of this script, and seeing what it takes. And it's inspired me to write. I've been writing more, and I had not done a tap before that. And it's just, it is seriously just watching people sort of in their element, and exercising their craft and sort of being inspired in that way.
I'll say a similar thing, which is like, yeah, it was a great experience, but it taught me like what Ruth and Jenny showed me is you can make it how you like, you surround yourself with the best people, and you can make the experience a good experience. And I guess now I know how it can be, and I don't want it to be other ways. And the other thing I learned is that I will always hire an acting coach.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. That's a really good thing. And for me, I one of the things I set out to do was I wanted to see if we could make a film where there's always time and room for kindness and generosity and listening to other people's ideas, because everyone brings something valuable to the table. And like so much of this film, I look at it and I can see moments where, oh, that moment's better because this person reminded me of this, or this person made this suggestion, or like I can watch the whole film and literally make a notebook list of like how the film was improved by something that someone else brought to the table. And that to me, that's what filmmaking is, and it's why I wanted to do it.
I think I was thinking about this. Ruth, as a director, made it an environment such that everybody felt, I think, fully responsible for the film, like everybody did, in a good way. And I think that was like really just, it made the on-set experience just so wonderful.
Takes a village.
It was so collaborative. And like, even for myself, like being a producer, there's a lot of people that want to put a producer kind of at the desk behind a computer screen. And I never felt like that working with Emily and Ruth. Like it was always like, like a creative environment. So thank you guys for that.
I was so glad to see you come to set. Like I've heard people say in the past, like, oh, you never want to see a producer come to set. And I'm like, man, of course I do. Like, she's my partner. Of course I want her here, because there's lots of joy, but also lots of brilliance that Jenny and any producer brings to the table. And like in the same way that the cast and the crew do. So yeah. Anyway, that's what I learned. And I hope that answers Catherine's question, because yeah.
That was an amazing question. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you, ladies, for being here. It was so amazing to hear from you and sharing your story. And good luck with being more creative and putting more amazing work out there. Thank you to Samaya Smith for her amazing performance to start us off. Thank you to Catherine Zalinga for our delicious cocktail. That was like vodka smoothie? Heck yeah, okay. That was great. And thank you to our community partners and our sponsors. And of course, thank you to Wendy who puts this together. She is just does so much work you guys would not believe. She's amazing. That's a woman I look up to for sure. She's powerhouse. But anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you to all of our viewers who tuned in today, and keep tuning in. We have two more films this month, Wendy. One more film this month. And of course, we're looking forward to our June festival, the real big festival that we have, and hopefully we can do some in-person stuff, not just virtual. But my name is Alita Rose. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. And take care, stay safe, and just keep creating, guys.
Thanks, Alita.
Thank you.
And so great to see you all.